Another term we have to discuss while thinking of critical pedagogy is praxis. Praxis means synthesis of reflection of an action in the learning process. The major features: it means informed action. It is the use of theory in practical way. Freire considered praxis or informed action as one of the goal of problem posing education attained through critical pedagogy. He defined praxis as reflection and action upon the world in order to transform it. Praxis is complex activity by which individuals create culture and society and become critically conscious human beings. It involves development of critical consciousness combined with social actions. Let us give an overview on critical pedagogy. Critical pedagogy is against the view that learners are expected to receive, memorize and repeat, and critical pedagogy is against to teachers depositing process of knowledge. Another point, critical pedagogy is a philosophy of education that views teaching as a political act. Supporters of critical pedagogy believe that classroom is not free of ideology. Education system as well as teachers to some degree decide the content of a particular subject or course. In the use of critical pedagogy, teachers should be aware of the students' preferences and allow learners to express their views freely on a particular topic, even if the teachers disagree with those views. What are the characteristics of critical pedagogy? We can go through one by one. Critical pedagogy is based on the assumption that all education is pedagogy. It provides the learner with the tools to better themselves and define the world where they live. And approach of the critical pedagogy is issue based or problem based, and this issue or problem should be taken from the learner's life situation. I mean, some situation that is relevant at USA may not be relevant in India, and some situation that relevant at Kashmir may not be relevant at Kanyakumari, like that. Take the problem or issue from the own situation, and critical pedagogy is focused on dialogue instead of one-way transmission of knowledge. It is a dialogue based teaching method. Critical pedagogy provides the learner with the tools to analyze critically how and on whose benefit the knowledge is constructed. Critical pedagogy transforms the learner from objects to subjects. That is very important. Learner is not an object, learner is a subject with all living and thinking conditions. It transforms the learner from the role of passive listeners to active participants. Learners are becoming participants in the classroom. So, we want a redesign on the teaching learning atmosphere while make use critical pedagogy. And critical pedagogy aims to create more democratic and just society. Critical pedagogy argues for an approach to education that is rooted in the experience of marginalized people. Critical pedagogy needs to create new forms of knowledge through its emphasis on breaking down disciplinary boundaries and creating new spaces where knowledge can be produced. Let me tell you certain exponents or great workers on critical pedagogy. Still researches are going on the area. Some of them are Paulo Freire, Michael Apple, Bell Hooks, J. L. Cunliffe, Peter McLean, Henry Grios, and Patty Lather and Ira Shore. Ira Shore, Paulo Freire called him as intellectual cousin, and that definition is very important, but it is a comprehensive definition. Actually, we want the idea, not the definition. Anyhow, let us tell it. Ira Shore defines critical pedagogy as habits of thought, reading, writing and speaking which go beneath surface, meaning first impression, dominant myths, official pronouncements, traditional cliches, received wisdom and mere opinions to understand the deep meaning, root causes, social context, ideology and personal consequences of any action, event, object, process, organization, experience, text, subject matter, policy, mass media or discourse. Now, this is a comprehensive definition that Irashor given to critical pedagogy. Let the definition be there, it is a little bit difficult to understand. It includes everything that a learner should take place in the classroom and a teacher should discourse in the classroom. A teacher is becoming a facilitator, a stage setter in the critical pedagogy, and the student becoming the designer of the learning process. It does not mean that teacher needs no knowledge, teacher needs extra knowledge. Teacher should be extraordinary. The teacher is supposed to coordinate entire functions and the atmosphere to be created by the teacher, the problem to be delivered by the teacher. Teacher is designing, but from the background, and teacher is never saying that what this is the meaning of the content. Instead, teacher is saying we can develop the meaning to the content. So, the learners will develop their own meaning according to their own interest and ability. That is why it is saying that critical pedagogy consider learner not as an object, but as a subject. So, subject may develop their content according to their own interest, ability, attitude, capacity and so on. There is one more definition for critical pedagogy. It is defined praxis oriented educational movement guided by passion and principle to help students develop consciousness of freedom, recognize authoritarian tendencies and connect knowledge to power and ability to take constructive action. Go through each point of it. It has guided by passion and principle. Help students to develop consciousness of freedom. Freedom that a human being always needed. When somebody is controlling unnecessarily, we may not be afford with it. We need freedom. So, learners also need freedom. Freedom does not mean that unlicensed freedom, licensed freedom. Then learner must be able to recognize authoritarian tendencies. Authoritarian tendencies may come from the rulers, come from the authoritarians, even come from the peer group members and from the teacher. So, it should be recognized by the learner and connect knowledge to power. Knowledge is power. That is the most important recognition of the critical pedagogy and the ability to take constructive action. The learner is constructing the knowledge through their own actions. Friends, by this discussion, we went through the critical pedagogy, its philosophy, its features, its definition, methods and practices. India, in many classrooms at higher education level, with the effort of teachers, taking this as a method for teaching. However, my discourse is not complete. You can take information through books and internet. Go through it. Just type Paulo Freire in your internet option and you will get all details regarding the method. Now, I make use a brief time for introducing the blended learning also. Blended learning is a method widely using in our classroom now. It is the connection between face to face talk and technology. Using technology and using face to face talk for teaching the content. So, the students or learners can learn better even in the absence of the teacher. Let us have a discussion of it or its a definition. Garrison and Vaughan defined it. Blended learning in higher education provides a vision and a roadmap for higher education faculty to understand the possibilities of originally blending face to face and online learning for engaging and meaningful learning experiences. The first parts provide the theoretical framework. The second part focuses on the practice of designing a blended learning experience. It means there are enough opportunities to make use the technology and internet. Making use of this technology and online network for teaching along with the face to face classroom teaching. So, blended learning is a combination of face to face classroom teaching or face to face teaching at any other occasion and the teaching through online methods and technology. Blended learning is the delivery of teaching learning through the combination of online and face to face interaction and it's resulting on improved student learning. Blended learning refers to the learning which takes place through a combination of e-learning, self-study, face-to-face teaching and facilitated teaching. What are the features? Blended learning is a better way to address the utilization of learning technology or teaching technology. Technology is not for facilitating the teacher's teaching capacity, but in blended learning it is used as the methods or substances to develop learning capacities. It assures teacher role and technology role. And this one, blended learning, make we gurus from the status of gurus to techno gurus. I mean gurus, they are using technology widely. Just I am giving a brief outline of blended learning and blended teaching. Again, we will get enough information on these two methods, blended learning and critical pedagogy, from different sources. I repeat, it is not the method, but the teacher who makes use it is important. Even the good and well defined critical pedagogy may remain passive in the classroom or may remain worthless in the classroom if the teacher is not properly making use it. We, the teachers of higher education sector, are intended and responsible to make use the method, either it is critical pedagogy or any other thing, effectively from the point of view of the learner. That is why in capital letters, let me say, it is not the method, but the teacher who make use the method is important. Mind that even an active methodology may remain passive if it is not properly used. Thank you for this session. I hope you may have an awareness on critical pedagogy and blended learning, and let it take as a platform for learning more. Thank you.